It's a huge
Here he
turnout.
goes.
there
Here
I
he
am.
is. There you are.
Well, I was like, why can't I talk? I see why. Oh, good. Wait, 93 people. Goodness, this is a lot bigger
Yeah.
than the last time, hey?
Right?
Yeah.
It's a big turnout.
Wow.
I think the first
Our
one I
last time
did,
we had like
I had about 10
7?
people. Or 7, 10
Yeah.
people, yeah. So give it a few more minutes, and then we'll get going.
Yeah.
Hopefully
Hello.
this includes some of the people that have been having trouble with Storyboard.
Yeah.
No?
Yeah, we can talk a bit about Storyboard today as well.
So yeah, get them in the right path. I'm sure everyone will enjoy this.
Yeah, I put together like a small kind of itinerary so we can kind of talk, through our introduction to prompting. We'll talk a bit about what prompting is, and then structure and weights and all that fun stuff. So
Yep.
hopefully by the end of this, we'll chat for an hour so people have a good idea how to approach Kaiber and start to see the results that they have in their mind, right? What the vision is.
Nice.
Yeah, that'll be the goal. And then some storyboard. But keep in mind, we do have the storyboard video, which I worked tirelessly on.
Yeah.
I just kidding.
Yes,
I'm kidding.
Big homie. Yes, big homie. It is being recorded, mate. The whole session's been recorded, and what we'll do once we're finished, we'll edit it as well, just in case it's too long, and then we'll re-release it onto the server and hopefully onto the other social platforms as well.
Yeah. Bye.
You want the long stuff. He likes the long stuff.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, so I figure we'll get, give everyone a couple more minutes to get in here, and we'll answer questions and go from there. And then we'll jump right into it. So I guess while we wait for the next few minutes, is there anything that we can kind of answer now, or any questions from you guys you're curious about before we jump into prompting?
Cynic has a pretty good question. I think we could help clarify that. Do you want me to read it out to you?
Yeah, go for it, man.
I see they start, they enjoyed Storyboard, and they have a suggestion. If possible, is there a way we can have an actual tracker on where each storyboard starts and ends without any need to go back and forth from each? I believe that's already in there, right? Like whenever we choose the time.
The next storyboard frame will start from obviously where the last one left off. But if you're looking for more of like a cohesive or an actual timeline as you progress through the storyboards, there's nothing yet. However, that has been suggested. We've seen that from a few other users as well. So it has made it to the dev team.
Well, yeah, you can change when the storyboard changes. Do you mean like I'm trying to explain this? So when you do the storyboard, if you do it with music, you can pick at what part of that music it changes. Obviously, it's 5 storyboards at the moment, so you can pick anywhere along that timeline. Without music, you have to every board you make is an additional time on top of the last board. So if you make a storyboard 1 and it's 8 seconds long, and you do a second board that's 8 seconds long, that's going to be 16 seconds in total. So it's just about how long you want to make each section on that aspect. I think that's what you're looking at. You do have the current ability to pick what point of the say I've got a 4-minute song. You can pick at any point during that 4-minute song to have where the storyboard will change. So where storyboard 2 goes into storyboard 3 into storyboard 4 and so forth.
I actually just finished a video, a pretty long video. I think it was like 3 minutes long. And I did exactly that. I was looking at the video and trying to see when the next frame transitioned from like the bunch of these stock videos I use. And yeah, I just followed the video along, and I think around like the 44-second mark, that's where I put my next storyboard. And then like at the 1:50 mark, that's where I put my next storyboard. So that's kind of I guess what they're asking, right? Like where you're choosing where the new storyboard takes effect, in a sense.
Yeah, because I've been doing it with the music side of things. So with the tracks I've been using, I've been listening to the music, listening for the breaks, the drops, and finding places where I think the camera movement would be great to change. And I've been using that.
Right.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I get what you're saying. So with the when you edit, you have to have the music playing to get the timer of when you want to put it. Is that what you're talking about? Because I think with me, I'd listen to the music prior on a separate device and engaged at what times the breaks and the drops and that were happening. So I do get your point. That's actually not a bad idea. Definitely be something that you can put into suggestions, and it could be something that could be looked at as well.
Yeah, we very much encourage everyone to utilize suggestions. The dev team is super active. They read through all of them. For the people that have been around with Kaiber for the last, couple of weeks, you'll notice that a lot of the suggestions that the community members made were implemented, for launch. So we very much listen to what the community wants to see. So please put suggestions in.
Yeah, and like big homie Ruxel just mentioned, like a lot of the stuff that I do at least is also pre-post. So we kind of go back to the old school days, right, where you write down on a pen and on a piece of note with a paper,
Same
like, oh, at 1:15. Like,
Yeah,
oh,
I've even got it structured
same thing.
so that it's got 20 seconds. Rotate clockwise,
Exactly.
left, zoom in, and then at 57 seconds, I've got the other. So when I do go to make the video, I'm not confused about what I'm doing.
It's the little yellow sticky tabs, you have all over your desk, right? This video, these times, okay, this camera. Yeah, it would be nice to have that better in the flow.
To be honest, my sheet that's got all the times on it looks like I'm about to rob a bank.
Yes.
Right.
It's the
like at this time.
yeah.
Security goes to
57 seconds. He goes for his lunch break.
I remember in even like in beta, right before some of the updates, you couldn't really go back and see what setting you put on the video, right? Like rotate clockwise, or zoom in, zoom out. So yeah, like I would have to write all that down because I couldn't remember what my previous storyboard even like, and we couldn't go back. Remember, there was no way of going back.
Yeah, I remember once I went back on it, and it literally I had to go through it all again and reset them all again. Could we have a frame count and frame count reactivity with prompts? AG Q shift or change the prompt.
They do that with time now, and like instead of doing it at specific keyframe, if you want to try to do it at the keyframe, just multiply by 12. Like the output is 12 frames per second, so if you need it at 120, it's at 10 seconds.
That's too much math. That's too much math.
Get your pen and sticky notes back out, right?
I'm like, golly.
I feel like Google hunting.
Now I need my calculator, not just the pen and paper.
Yeah. All right. So it's just after 10, I guess, just after 10 after. So why don't we, I guess, jump into it?
Yeah, sounds good.
So I think we want to start kind of with what the introduction, or I guess what prompting is. So our introduction to prompting. By now, most people, you guys have been around AI for a little bit, if you've been with Kaiber, and you have an idea of what a prompt is. But effectively, concise messages. They're going to direct your AI, and in this case, they're going to direct Kaiber to what you envision the output will be. So if you describe something with text, the expectation what you're going to see on the other end. And that's all a prompt is. It's just talking to AI, giving them the information or instructions to produce what you want to see. It's really important. A lot of people kind of look at prompting and go, easy, I'll just use another AI to create prompts for me. It doesn't work that way. You want to be able to, visualize what you're seeing or what you want to see and be able then to express that through text, because AI really doesn't know anything else. So it's going to go and say, okay, this person has asked for an apple, a banana, an orange, and a fruit basket. And they're going to use metadata from the image model or the training data to put that all together for you. So the more concise and clear you are, the greater output you're going to get. So yeah, really the takeaway, guys, a prompt is just what you're writing to the AI to get it to do what you want it to do. It's simple instructions.
There's like kind of like a template, right? Like a base where it's, what is it? Subject.
Kind of like a structure. Yeah,
like a structure. There's that, but I don't follow it anymore. I guess now because I'm more familiar with things, but
yeah.
Do y'all have a structure you follow?
Yeah, the structure that we've talked about in guides and with our written content is only supposed to be a guide. This is not this is the only way to approach it. Yeah, this is the law. It's not. This is just what's going to help you get best results because it's tested. This is something that I've used in almost all my videos, and something that a lot of the mods and other community members have borrowed from and seen the success. And it's simply, you want to start with your subject, talk about what you're doing there. Big homie's got us. And then, of course, your prepositional details. So talk about the details of your subject, right?
What Lisa just mentioned there is like, does it make it better if it's longer? Well, the thing with the prompts is people get length mixed up with complexity. There's you can have a prompt really long and be really specific. What people tend to do is they mistake the length of the prompt with the complexity of the prompt themselves. So they've written too much irrelevant information, or they've written confusing or ambiguous or vague information that the AI will not take into account, and they get
Or
bad videos.
conflicting.
Or conflicting, yeah.
Conflicting information is tough.
Yeah. So that they'll write one thing at the beginning of the prompt, and then they'll say something at the end which is counteracting what they've just written in there. So there's a lot to be said about being specific, you know. So it's not about short versus long; it's about being specific versus complex.
Yeah, simplicity is key, guys. Kaiber is wonderful with natural language, wonderful with simple prompts. We don't need to take the old school Midjourney or DALL-E approach, or the early AI where you're just creating a list of things you want to see. You really can just say, hey, I want to see a fruit basket. I want to see a beautiful woman on a beach. I want to see a cyberpunk city skyline.
Hell yeah.
Like, you know, it's really easy to approach that way. And this is the recommendation, is you always want to start simple and then iterate out. You add more complex things after you've tested to ensure you've got the basic idea or the foundation done. Right? So, and that's why this structure is really helpful, because you can start with just your subject and make sure you've got that down. And then you go, okay, well, maybe I want my subject to have different color hair, a different color shirt, a different outfit, maybe more cyberpunk themed, right? And then you can start to change your prompt a little bit or add more to it. So start simple, and much like Exo said, you know, don't mistake adding too much complexities, you know, with length. You want to make sure that what you're saying, no matter the length of the prompt, is still going to be clear and concise and descriptive to what you want to achieve. Makes sense. So
Makes sense.
that makes sense. I like that. Thank you. So yeah, basic structure as I have in some of the written guides. Subject, your prepositional details, so your details on the subject. Setting. You know, where's this taking place? Any additional meta modifiers, and then of course you go into your Kaiber styling. You can put something simply like, you can define a subject, and at the end of your prompt, you can weight a style. You could weight, like, you know, cyberpunk at the end. And what that's going to do is it's going to help turn everything you've done into more a cyberpunk theme. Right? So you can add more modifiers to the end to help influence certain things as you go. But to reiterate, always start simple.
It's one of the biggest things that people fail on their first videos, is they go in and they will copy an excerpt from a book, or they will copy something that they've seen.
Lyrics, I've seen lots of.
Bible excerpts. They'll copy it in, or they'll write in as if they're writing a script. You know, they'll be like, at so and so time I want the character to do this, and then when at this time I want it to do that, and it's not how it works. You know, you're not actually using a video editing software. It is it's a AI generation software. So you imagine it a bit like a flip book, that every image is being created on top of each other to continue the animation. So it's very hard to direct it that way, but that's where most fall short, is where they start to add too much detail into the camera movements and the character's feeling inside. And I've seen some prompts where they've been talking about, you know, childhood trauma that the character's gone through, and it's like the AI has got no way of materialize this as an image on the screen.
The AI doesn't have feelings. It doesn't know to give your character a specific maybe feeling, or to give a mood to an atmosphere. But what it does know is how to look for images that may have been styled like that. So when you're telling the AI a specific mood or emotion or feeling, you're not going to get an expected result. It's going to be a little bit more chaotic. You might get something you like, you might not. It's chance. Right, so that's why I stick with easy visual things to describe.
And at the same time, so going back to the complexity side of things, also just don't make it so simple that it's just like a word. I've seen prompts where they said it's not working, I can't get it to do what I want to do, and I check on it and they've just written the word house. You know, that's all they've written. And it's like,
why is it showing up as a mansion?
Yeah,
well,
what do you expect it to do? And it's like, you try and explain it, but not everyone gets it. And it's hopefully what we can go through in today.
Yeah, and that's right. I guess there is a point where it's too simple, but yeah, wonderful. So the other thing I really want to stress on is, when you're using, you know, a prompt structure, you know, or descriptive keywords and stuff, you still want to follow an iterative process. And this is what has been really successful for me, is like I'll have an idea and then I'll try it. I'm like, okay, I didn't really like that. I'll change some words, or I'll put weight somewhere else, or, I'll add new keywords and I'll try it again. I do this with, between 3 and 8 second clips, and I just try over 3 or 4 times to ensure that I'm going to get the output that I want. Once I'm confident in my prompt, then I can go to build longer animations. I can start to storyboard better, get a better idea of what that longer animation will look like when it's finally generated, and it gives you just that much more control. So the iterative process is really key right now, especially for all early AI, to truly understand what it is you're getting out of it.
Yeah, I mean, like with myself, with some of the videos that I've been making, I was using Midjourney. I was using all different sort of AI art generators to create my images. And then what I found worked best for me was just to sort of do some tests within Kaiber itself. So I created like these images in Kaiber with the prompts that I was going to use on the videos, just to try and see what it was creating. And if it was creating the images that I was looking at or the style I wanted, then at least I know I was at least 50% there ready for the video. And then I started creating like short videos, like 3-second, 4-second videos, so I didn't waste credits, just in order to sort of see and gauge what it was going to be like. And obviously, this was before we had preview frames on there. It just
Yeah.
allows you to just to get a direction. And once you think, okay, right, I like the image, it's done what I want it to do. The first few seconds looks like it's okay. At least you know that you've got a high percentage chance that the video is going to turn out great if you put a good prompt in.
Mhm. So for the article that Red So Lookup just posted, the Stable Diffusion prompt, that is a fantastic resource. It definitely gets a little bit deeper in the weeds if you're a more technical user. There is some value to it, but keep in mind not all of that will translate over. There is a lot of information there, and again, highly recommended for the more technical users to check out. Also, I think somebody else asked a question about just giving them information to pop into ChatGPT. It won't work.
No.
Dude, I have worked on this for weeks. I have probably 2,000 prompts that I've saved, categorized, everything to see if we can dump it into ChatGPT and have ChatGPT continuously give an expected output. And it doesn't work. It doesn't work the way we, at least that I want yet, or in a way that we could put into an article so you can just lazily copy and paste it into ChatGPT. Take the iterative approach, find out what works best for you is the easiest way to go right now. All right. So any questions kind of about prompt structure? I know we talked a little about iterative, which I'll probably touch on a bit more throughout this conversation, but any questions about prompt structure or what we've talked about so far?
Not for myself.
Like-
I mean, one thing I would put into is go over the sort of the Geigo Vivo sort of influence the
Oh,
way you
yes.
look at So like there's a terminology which is the GIGO, which is Geigo. That stands for garbage in, garbage out. So like whatever you put into the generator is what you're going to get out. So if you put a really bad prompt in there, it's not going to give you the Mona Lisa. So you just need to make sure that you structure it well and that you research as well. You look at art styles. You look at different styles of arts, artists, genres. It's good to learn all those because the AI will pick those up. So if you've got a specific design in mind, do a bit of research before you jump headfirst into it. And then the other terminology is VIVO, which is VIVO, and that stands for value in, value out, which is basically like the quality you put in is gauges the quality you're going to get out of it. So if you've got a really good prompt, there's a high chance that you're going to get a really good outcome for your video as well. But people need to also be in the frame of mind that, one thing you've got to think about is if I was to jump into Photoshop, I've been using graphic design for many years. But if a newcomer jumped into Photoshop, you wouldn't expect them to be a master of Photoshop straight away. The people that jump into Kaiber or other AI, they expect it to be perfect because they think it's all about just the AI, where it is a lot to do with the user and the input that goes into it. Yeah. So, a new person skateboarding doesn't suddenly become Tony Hawk's overnight. You know what I mean? So it does take a bit of time to learn the styles and learn the structure, learn the processes, and then you're able to have a better input for yourself and better structure to get the videos you want, and you waste less credits as well. So research is definitely key.
Yes. And like a lot of the community members have worked hard to produce tutorials, content, and stuff to help guide new users. Take advantage of it. In Discord, we've got the whole tutorial section, everywhere from entry-level beginner to more advanced, video editing kind of stuff. if there's not there and you guys are creators and you create tutorials or you want to teach people, message us. We'll help get your stuff into the tutorial section if it's quality content that can help the community. We're here to empower the community, and uplift. So if you guys have content that'll help, let us know, and we'd be happy to get it there. To answer a couple questions, I know I saw, is Kaiber different than, other Stable Diffusion platforms? It's a bit more of a complex answer. It's yes and no. Stable Diffusion is the backend. This is what everybody's using, but Kaiber has its own special stuff, its own special sauce, if you will, that changes things a little bit. So, what we've found that works really, really well with Kaiber is what we're going to speak to today, right? Which is, again, in the simple, more natural language approach, things without negative weighting, where we emphasize elements we do want to see, that kind of stuff. So again, it's a bit more of a complex answer, but you want to take a slightly different approach to Kaiber than you would maybe with a different Stable Diffusion app.
Yeah.
All right. I just want to make sure I didn't miss any quick questions here.
People are asking about the banned words. And I'm just kind of like trying to tell them no, that it's whatever Stable Diffusion, right? Put in their
so that's the thing. We get a lot of questions saying, why is this banned? Why is this word banned? Why is this phrase banned? It's not us. Kaiber don't ban these words. It's the training data that comes through Stable Diffusion. They've got the banned words in there that they won't use. Same as Midjourney has the banned words as well. All I'd say is, like, with certain things, like I tried to use, I tried to describe a treasure chest once, and I don't think it was in Kaiber. I think it was in another app. And it wouldn't let, it might have been Midjourney, and it wouldn't let me put treasure chests, and I was like, what? And so then I've realised, obviously, because it took the word chest, and in its mind it's thinking it's female anatomy,
a big beautiful treasure chest.
Yeah, a big beautiful treasure chest with a bikini sat on the beach. So it was like, I messaged them and they said that they are looking into it, and I think a lot of it, including Stable Diffusion, are looking into what they call context words.
Yeah.
So at the moment, it's simply certain words are banned because of the images it's generating, but they are looking at changing it so that when you type in a specific, like if I typed in treasure chest, the AI knows I'm not talking about a woman's chest. I'm talking about a chest full of coins. If you get divorced, it could be the same thing. But when it comes to the description, the treasure chest is not female anatomy. So there are things to do that, but we have no control over the current banned words. And that will change and probably alternate as the training data gets updated and new systems come in.
Yeah, and the one thing I'll mention, and sometimes it'll be a bit ambiguous, but like if you're typing a prompt, you're like, I wonder if this is a banned word. Well, probably is. So
right, whatever.
keep that in mind. There's going to be times where you're like, well, I don't understand what I've done wrong, and if that's the case, feel free to reach out to the community, and we'll see.
And
we'll
the biggest tool is a thesaurus.
Thesaurus, yes. Find a better way to say it.
Find another word.
We can't change the banned words, but we can at the very least look into it.
Don't get me wrong, right? If there's a specific word that's banned because of its meaning, then the thesaurus is not going to help, because it would have also banned the other words that mean the same thing. What I'm trying to say is use a thesaurus. Like, from my aspect, is I wanted the treasure chest. So what other word for chest would I find? So I wouldn't need to use a thesaurus, because I could think of one myself. But just finding alternate words that help you to do that. Yeah.
Trunk. Banned too.
The source of the training data is through the forum and Stable Diffusion.
Yeah. I know there's lots of questions coming in, and there's only so many that I can get to. We'll leave some space at the end as well for more. But there is 2 questions that I saw pop up that I do want to address now. One person mentioned that they'd rather wait for AI to be more approachable with like natural language. Kaiber does that great. You don't have to list style prompt. You can speak to it like typing a sentence. When you want to see something, you can just describe it. I want to see an astronaut in space. I want to see someone riding a horse. Whatever the case may be, you can approach it in a human readable way, and you'll almost always get the results that you're looking for. And then outside of that, someone asked about weighting. We will touch on weighting. So we'll go over what that looks like shortly. You just gotta wait. That's right. That's right. All right. So moving on. We went through iterative prompting. So I think I've covered most of what I want on that. Use 1 or 2 keywords at a time, and just gauge the results and try again and make sure you're happy with what you're getting. So let's move right into weights then, because that's the next thing I've got on my little agenda. So what is a weight? When we're working with AI, a weight is what gives emphasis to something. So when we're weighting an element for Kaiber, say again, we'll use the fruit basket analogy, and you put some parenthesis around, say, apples, the AI is going to see that and go, okay, they want more apples. There's more emphasis now on that element. Right? And now you can take that a step further and you can then put a factor weighting. So you can, again, wrap your element in parenthesis. You can add a single column and then a number, a decimal number after that, or a number between 0.1 and 2. Now, let me break that down a little bit. If you want to increase emphasis on an element, you're going to want a number between 1 and 2 for best results. You can go higher, but it'll probably break. Like if you start putting numbers like 5, you're going to get just noise and gibberish back. All right. But if you want to increase the emphasis on an element, again, like apples in our fruit basket, you can wrap it in parenthesis, single colon, maybe add a 1.3. That is going to give it a factor, 1.3, and mean that that element is going to be that much more emphasized inside of your animation. Now, you can take the same approach with negative weighting, and I don't like the term negative weighting. It's a bit of a misnomer because Kaiber doesn't negative weight things. We don't tell the AI what not to have. It's generative AI. We're generating things. So we take the approach is what do we want to create, not versus what don't we, what do we not want to create. So you can reduce emphasis on an element. So again, and I really like the fruit basket analogy, if you want to create a fruit basket and you want apples and oranges, but you know bananas might show up in a fruit basket, but you don't really want them, you can underweight them or reduce the emphasis for this. All right, and you can usually use a number between 0.1 and 0.9. Right, that means it's less than 1, it's a reduced emphasis. This does not mean that bananas won't appear. They might not, but there's less emphasis on it and greater emphasis on the other elements that you do want to see.
Yeah.
So when you're weighting things or when you're weighting prompts or wrapping things in parenthesis, always take the approach first is what do I want to see? Not what don't I want to see? And you'll find you'll get a lot better results that way. So you want to add anything to that, Exo?
Yeah, I was just saying, looking at the cheat sheet question from up there, we are looking to put together some information and some cheats together for a document for everyone to be able to download as well. But going back to the prompting, yeah, for me the weights I use them for everything now. And they're not the same as Midjourney weights. They're not the same as weights on other AI platforms. It's about making sure you got them in the right place. Because it's not just the weights; it's the structure of the formatting as well. So depending on whereabouts your words are appearing, is how much the AI focuses on that word as well. So I tend to sort of put most of the stuff that I'm weighting towards the beginning of it, and then the stuff that is just descriptions and styles I leave towards the end. But yeah, anything in the prompting, so I never really go above 1.8, 1.9 on my weights. Because I just find it, like you say, it's too much noise. Even though you get noise at 5, I seem to just find that the images generated when you got the 2s and the 3s, they're just not as good. Because all you're really doing is just emphasizing more than the other words that are on the sheet. You're not really looking to go too high. Because if you've got one that's like, say you've got one word you want to focus on, you put that at 8 as your weight, and everything else is normal. All you're doing is making that still more than 1. You're not really doing it any justice compared to you could do it at 1.1 and it would still have the same effect, because you're literally just trying to make it the main focus above the rest of the other topics and keywords that are in that sentence.
Yeah, and I think Rock also mentions, like, if you're going over 1.6, you want to reevaluate your prompt.
Yeah.
Because you shouldn't be having to weight something so high, right? Because then you're like, well, why don't you just remove some additional words?
Like, I like my apples heavy.
Yeah, real heavy. I want a red.
I did that, and it was a terrible mistake. But it was a mistake.
We've when I first started testing prompts and weights and stuff. Oh man, the disasters that I would make. But it's a learning experience, right?
Yeah, number 2 here, Jimmy could release a whole video of bloopers that would be hilarious just to watch.
Oh, and some are just weird, man.
Yeah.
But yes, very, very much. I think somebody else asked something here about a guide. Okay. So check the tutorial section. In the tutorials, there is a guide on prompting. It was built for the previous, I guess, Kaiber's beta. I know with the release of, I guess, Kaiber 1 or I guess the launch they just had here with the updates, some things have changed. So most of what you see there is still relevant with how you want to approach prompting and weighting, but some of the prompts may just give a different outcome now. So some of the examples within the article just might be slightly different now.
And Skyness also asked a good question. When do you do weighting? Do you do it on one word or the whole sentence?
It depends. It depends on what you want to do. So you can do a single element, like you can just increase your apples, or you can do a phrase. With a phrase, you're going to get, I guess, a more clarity on some of what the animation is, but use the iterative prompting approach because it's not always guaranteed, but there is no one way. It doesn't just have to be elements or just have to be phrases. You can use it both ways.
Yeah, so I use it both. I use it for words and for phrases that I use in there as well. As long as it's separated by the comma when you're doing your prompt, it will and you put your weight in there. It will count the entire phrase, not just the word within that phrase.
Someone's asking about other languages. So I've been testing Kaiber with other languages. It's not working well. So right now, yeah, so your best approach is English prompts for now. I highly recommend if you're not a native English speaker or you want to prompt from your own,
So your voice disappeared for a second there, mate.
Oh, my bad. Yeah, if you do want to prompt in your native language, utilize ChatGPT to help translate it for you, because we just cannot guarantee the results when you're using other languages. The training data is very much English biased, so keep that in mind.
Yeah, see, JCB's got a nice little good point here. So there are there are a few things I want to share for everyone. Write or copy your prompt evolution. Yeah, so great. Well, I keep a track of my prompts. So when I don't just type my prompt into Kaiber's generator, all my prompts are written out in like a Word document or a sort of Google Drive document. And then whenever I change things, I make sure I change that so I can copy and paste it anytime I want. So like it's really good to keep a document of those prompts. So then when you find something that works, you know exactly what the prompt is. You haven't got to worry too much. I know it saves it on the videos, but I tend to I tend to alter and change a lot. I might write a prompt and then I go away for a few hours and come back and have an idea and add to it as well. So it's always good to have a working prompt evolution sort of setup. Have a dictionary and a thesaurus and dictionary really good for finding alternative words. And like he says there, sometimes the AI will know one word above another word more focused. And then trial and error. Yeah, exactly. There's no other way. It's trial and error.
Honestly, the concept of iterative prompting is so important for any AI application right now. You're never going to get best results just throwing stuff and hoping that it's going to achieve what you want. It takes trial and error. It takes attempts and learning to get the best results.
Yeah, and I mean, don't get me wrong. I've a lot of people that are coming out are new to AI, new to prompting as well. So it's very overwhelming for a lot of people when they come in to sort of they think that they've got it right. They put a prompt in and it won't come out right, and it gets they get very disheartened. So a lot of people have always messaged me like, I want to refund, I want to cancel because it's not done what I wanted to do. And then when you go through the process, they're really happy and they've gone away, they've redone it, and they've come back and said thank you so much for going through that with me because I didn't know it could do that. And I was, going back a year, I didn't know anything about prompting. It's not like I've suddenly been an expert all my life. It was a case of like everyone here, we've learnt by researching and by trial and error ourselves. We've tried things. We were at a stage where something didn't work. We try something different, and yeah, it's credits up. But when you're developing your skills, sometimes you just got to put a bit of time and effort into it.
All right. So in the concept of weights, because I know that's what we were just kind of talking a bit about, does that make sense? Kind of how to approach Kaiber with weighting elements? Or reducing emphasis on elements, or does anybody have any questions on that? Because I know that's a big one that comes up quite often.
Because it's very important, because a lot of people will always ask the same questions. They will say like, how do I make this subject more apparent in the video? How do I keep him from changing into something else? And it all comes down to the not just the evolve setting, but also the weight you put on that keyword for that subject that you want to stay there. It's very important. A lot of people, they will just write a prompt and not add weights. And then when it changes and evolves, which is what it does, it evolves the image. So if all of your words are weighted the same at the beginning, it will just evolve what's on that description. So if you're weighting specific words, you can control exactly what the AI will focus on and keep focused. So like in one of my prompts recently, I wanted a guy with a skull for a head. I don't know why. It might be something to do with my mentality, but I wanted a skull for his head, So the prompt in there had the weight for the skull as a head, and also other aspects of skull wording that I'd put in there were weighted as well, just to make sure that was a focus of the video, and it came out really well. I'll be putting it online soon. But yeah, the weighting does come very important if you want specifics, and also when it comes to we're probably going to touch a bit on it later today, because you mentioned about ethnicity, didn't you? Touch on with weighting to ethnicity, because a lot of people have said, what, why can't we distinguish between different skin tones and so forth? And that's all to do with the weighting as well. And Jimmy had a really good explanation earlier when he was talking about the image being white and what it would do. So if you wanted to sort of say a bit about that, buddy.
Yeah, so this is something that's come up actually quite recently. Is people are using either their image and initialization, or starting with an image, or trying to create someone, and they're like, well, why are all my people coming out under a specific ethnicity? And some of the concerns that people have brought forward is like, okay, well, like, is there a bias? Like, we need more representation for people of color and other ethnicities. And really, at the end of the day, it all comes down to the training data. So when a model is built, it uses a tremendous amount of images to create this. So there's always going to be a little bit of bias inside of an image model. But AI doesn't have inherent bias. Like, it doesn't say, oh, I want this person to appear versus this person. You just need to describe what you want to see. Otherwise, all it's doing is pulling from the context of the image, and as in the pixel colors around the image, and then the text prompts you've given it to do the diffusion to create the animation. So in non-technical terms, it's basically taking your image and all the colors in it and guessing at what it should create based upon the text that you've given it. So if you want to create a person that has a specific background, style, ethnicity, you need to tell Kaiber that. You need to say, hey, I want to create someone that is, well, I'll use cyberpunk aesthetic, or someone that has maybe from an Eastern European descent, an American, whatever the case may be. If you tell Kaiber that, you're going to get that result. So being more concise and more specific with your prompts will get the result that you're looking for.
I've even had a video a while back now. I was doing a video for somebody to help with a music video. It was a project that we teamed up on, and one of the things in there was to have the person that was on the screen, I think I showed you the video, I'm not sure, change ethnicity for the whole video, and we managed to get it about 90% correct. So it would change from white to Hispanic to all different nationalities. It would keep changing throughout, and that was based on the weighting. It was a very long prompt with lots of weighting involved in there, but we was able to sort of control the changes. I think we struggled a bit with some speed, and some of the ethnicity stayed on the screen longer than others. So it's just perfecting it, really. But if you're looking for just to have a specific ethnicity on the screen, then you're right. Yeah, you have to describe what you want, put in what you want.
Just say it, yeah,
and just say it.
And as I kind of read through chat, you can see a lot of other users are saying the same thing. Like, yeah, once I started adding the ethnicity, bam, I got exactly what I wanted. And that's it is. It's simply that. You just tell it what you want, you're gonna get that. Unless it's a banned word, then no.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of prompting, what you got to think about with the prompt as well is like, if you are writing a prompt out, just imagine before AI came about, right? And I'm a graphic designer, and I had a client come to me and would ask me to design a logo for him or design an image for him. And I would always give them what we class. It was like a questionnaire. It was a series of questions about style, color, palettes, all the questions you ask somebody in order to do this image, what they wanted to see. It's quite an in-depth questionnaire, and a lot of designers have those. What you got to think about when you're writing the prompts is, if you give that to a designer, are they going to understand it? Are they going to understand what you've written? How are they going to portray it? And if you think to yourself they're not going to understand this, the likelihood is the AI is not going to be able to understand it either.
Okay, a couple things. So I'm seeing that a comment that Kaiber doesn't understand negative prompts or negative weight. And again, kind of like we described. So we're not prompting negatively. It's not negative prompts. Kaiber doesn't use negative prompts. We have the ability to reduce or increase emphasis on an element, not to negatively weight something. It's quite a misnomer. Stable Diffusion does. Within the Stable Diffusion backend, you can add negative weights. And again, they're going to work similar, where they're going to try to reduce emphasis, or they're not going to use images with that metadata. Kaiber doesn't do that. So keep that in mind. This is why I said that it's a little different. Kaiber's a bit different than other Stable Diffusion apps. So the way to approach weighting here is to not take the negative weighting approach, but to take the I want to see more of these elements and then better describing your prompts. If you approach it from a natural language aspect, weight specific elements you want to see more of, you're going to get the results you want to see. All right, I just want to make sure I'm not missing anything else. I know someone asked about consistency for characters. We'll touch on that really quick as well. Consistency is difficult. Consistency is difficult for every AI right now. We're getting better, with things like Midjourney. They've got some improvements. ControlNet brought a lot of new stuff, but it's still in its infancy. So in terms of Kaiber, you're not going to get the same consistent character through text animation prompts. There is no seeds or anything that we can reference. So if you type in, a beautiful EXO, you're not going to get the same image every single time.
It'll be true, but
Right. So if you use a starting image, to get your prompt with the same character, you can see a bit more of that consistency, but you're going to want to use similar prompts. If you use the same starting image and then wildly describe your subject differently, no, it's going to be different. So consistency is always going to be a bit difficult until the technology improves.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people that have I've put my slider down to 1 as well, depending on what I want to do. Yeah, definitely. If you're looking to keep something consistent, like not gonna say consistent, but like not too wild, then yeah, I put the evolve setting down to 1, because obviously the higher it goes, the more wild the animation is going to be. It's never going to be at 0. But the idea to try and minimize that is create shorter videos and then edit it together afterwards. So like if you're looking to create a video that doesn't evolve too much, create shorter 10, 15 second videos, and use the last frame of the last video for the first frame of the next video, and then edit them together as you go along. And that way you at least guaranteeing that the evolution is not going to go too wild as the AI starts going more and more in depth into your video.
So good, we've covered what is a prompt, so hopefully everybody knows what a prompt is now, basic structure and how to approach Kaiber prompting for best results. We talked about the concept of iterative prompting, weights now within prompts to get more granular control over your animations. I think the last thing we'll talk about for prompts before we talk a little bit about Storyboard is just the difference between how Kaiber handles your subject and your style. Again, knowing that we're using a Stable Diffusion style backend, typically subject and style, there's no difference between them. Kaiber has, like I said, its own special sauce that does differentiate that. So your subject, you want to clearly define your subject there, right? And in your style, you want to leave your style prompts there. Because of the way Kaiber handles it in the backend, it'll ensure that the styling that you want is being achieved. So it is important that you do break those things apart, keep your subject and everything where it needs to be and your styling where it needs to be. And of course, play with the curated or included styles. They work well. But if you ever run into a problem with any of them, like we know in some you might get a camera head, let us know. And so we can update that, right? Because a lot of these things, they come from community involvement and people testing and trying things for best results.
Yeah, because you got to look. We can't do it. We can't test everything that ever happens. So the videos,
That's right.
The issues we see are from the videos that we have made, and we found these issues, and we fed it back to the dev team as well. So we were able to fix those issues. So like from the community aspect, if you guys come across anything that might not be right, or you think that it could be a feedback for us or a suggestion, please use the suggestions channel and feed it back to us, because the more information you give us as users, the better we can evolve Kaiber and to enable it to be more useful to the general public to use it.
Yeah, very much. All right, so that's everything that I wanted to kind of go through today. I do want to reiterate, guys, like the tutorial section is awesome, and if you have more we want to add to it, please do. Our goal, again, is to empower the creators in the community, our musicians, our content creators, or the people that just want to express themselves with a new medium. So don't hesitate to participate in the community, reach out, and let us know how we can help. EXO or Red Solo Cup. Do you guys want to add anything here?
Nope, no, you're good. Go for everything I can think of, mate, on that. Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about Storyboard. This is a new feature, one that has been long asked for within the community, and I'm super grateful that it was released. So I've released a storyboard video just to give you guys or give users just a quick idea of what storyboard is and how to get started with it. Highly recommend checking it out. It's tremendously helpful. It'll point you in the right direction to get started. Storyboard gives you a lot more control over your story, right? It's what it's supposed to be for. You can now use Kaiber to tell much more engaging stories. You can really create a narrative here. That's something that we weren't able to do before, and I am a huge fan of this. Being able to control up to 4 camera angles in a certain scene, choosing what you can, what wants to be animated in one scene, how it's going to change in the next, gives us as users so much control over our story. For our musicians, we're seeing people utilize this to tell both a visual and an auditory story. It's stuff that I didn't think I would see, and it's super, super cool. So right now, it's released, it's launched. We're still working out some things. Nothing is perfect on first launch, of course, and we always have users that'll find little things here and there. But how are you guys finding Storyboard? Is it kind of working in the way you had intended? Is there struggles, questions, concerns? What can we do right now to help address that for you guys? Tutorial videos for stories? Like, are you looking for like a tutorial for creating a storyboard, or just kind of like a walkthrough? What is it you want to see?
You're talking like a motion story, like a film? Is that what you mean? Like a movie? Video
like a video walkthrough. Here, I got you.
We find out Red's been talking the entire time, but we haven't heard him
Yeah,
at all.
he's probably been like adding all of this.
He's probably had like
really
the best
important stuff.
information that we've had in the whole chat, and we just missed it.
Just that really important piece of information we all need.
There was that one thing you guys need to know, but it's too late now. Unfortunately, Red's already said it, but mic was turned off. So forever be a mystery.
Yeah. Okay, let's see. Works on scene in the next.
Yeah, I mean, with the storyboards, like I've been playing around with it all week, so I've been doing a lot of videos, testing out things, and I've been making some stuff for my video, for my logo video that I'm doing. And like I found, like when I get to storyboard 4 of obviously I see the keyframe that's developed, the preview frame that's developed. It is just an iteration of the first one, but the styles are coming through good because it's using it as an inspiration. Don't forget, it's not using that as a first frame or a mid frame. So the actual image you're seeing when it says what you're going to see on storyboard 2, storyboard 3, that's not the initial image. That is an inspirational image. It's not using that image to merge into and then create a rest of story. It's saying this is the style it's going to be based off your prompt for that scene that it's going to go into based off the first image you put into there. So it's just looking and showing you the style you have. So if you keep the same style throughout, then that image is going to look very similar each storyboard you go to, because it is literally just an inspirational image. It's not actually an initial image. The first image you have is the initial image, and then every image generated after that is just an inspiration based off the prompt using the image that you installed. Does that make sense? Yes, Heisenberg, yes.
Yeah, and this was a big one for me because when I first started using Storyboard, I thought the exact same thing, right? I thought that, okay, this is what the next scene is going to start with. Okay, yeah, this should flow well. And then as I'm watching my videos, I'm like, well, this is not what I thought would happen. And then actually, I think it was Exo that said, no. It's just like the very first time. It's just a preview frame to show you what the inspiration is. No prompt should be secrets. There is a public gallery now. It is opt-in. If you guys want to share your videos or showcase your videos with the community, go to your own gallery, your own videos, and in the top right corner, there's a little eyeball. Pop that thing, and it'll start showing up on the main page. You can share your work with the world. You can see prompt engineers. Okay, well, in our community, I don't mind sharing. I don't think anyone here wants to hide their stuff.
Yeah,
if you guys ever see a video that I've made, ask me the prompts. I'll share it with you. I want people to create awesome stuff too.
Yeah, exactly, man. I mean, like with prompts, I'm a prompt engineer. I don't mind giving prompts to people. I help people all the time. I think there's a difference between a prompt engineer and somebody that's curating their prompts. That makes sense. If someone's actually earning money off their prompts by selling their prompts, and obviously they don't like to share it. It's a big difference. Yeah. So like myself, I'm a prompt engineer. I like to help people, and the more people that are able to use the information that we give them, then the less time we spend helping those people, and can actually spend making our own stuff as well. So we want people to be able to develop and use the prompts.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, never hesitate, guys. If you see something that I've made, or I'm sure I can speak for all the mods, just ask us. We're happy to share that stuff. We want to see the same success for everybody.
And I've got time for people. I'd help people. You know, I'll if someone asks a question, just ask a question. You know, we're not so unapproachable that you can't say, look, dude, I've got something I need help with. I mean, I spent must have been what 4 hours on chat with Miss Lisi the other day. To about 3 in the morning she kept me up for, guys. Just chatting about all aspects of AI and Kaiber, and it was it was a really good chat. But I'm up for that because it is helping the community, and we're all the same. Obviously, I don't think Jimmy and the guys will stay up to 3 o'clock in the morning. But
now I got kids, man.
Yeah, I mean,
need my sleep.
But I don't sleep. I'll sleep when I'm dead. But yeah. It's there to be taken. Any of the guys in the mod team have got experience as well. Red's got a lot of experience. Bit Fury's got a lot of experience, and Rock and Skyness have got experience. Belka's got experience. So there's a lot of people you can ask. Even people even people in the community. We've got people like AI Stokes is the JC.
Yeah.
I can't pronounce your name, buddy. It's JC. What's his name? I can't pronounce it.
I don't know how to pronounce the last name properly.
Yeah.
and I don't want to butcher it, but he's here. I know he's there. He's typing.
JC Badult. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sorry if we butchered that name. Okay,
just call him JC. So there's a lot of people in the community that they're not part of the mod team or part of the episode, but they are still very experienced people. Like there's Jiro, very experienced guy. Mm-hmm. And no one in the community is really protective enough to not help anybody. I've seen it all the time where someone asks a question and before I've got to answer it, one of the community jumped in and helped. So it's really great. And we are developing the community as well. So don't think that that we've had a lot of change in the community as it's grown, because we've grown pretty fast in the Discords. There's a lot of things coming to Discord to make it better for everybody, to make it more fun and more usable for everybody as well. So it's going to be a good place to be able to showcase your work.
Yeah, and I want to touch on the camera heads again, because first off, definitely my fault, guys. I wrote the photorealistic prompt for that style, and I tested this thing thoroughly without seeing this type of result. But it looks like in some cases we are still seeing additional cameras pop up. So for additional context, in my testing, I use specific cameras to give a more photoreal effect because this is what we saw appear more often in some of the metadata. But what we have seen with some people's prompts or getting that camera is when users are using long prompts or broken apart, like a lot of commas and stuff like that, the styling starts to get lost a little bit. And that's when it starts to not pull the metadata that I'm looking for in terms of the camera photorealism, but actual pictures of the camera. It's still rare. It's only happening, I've seen, to 1 or 2 users. But if that happens, please let me know. Share it with me and share with me your prompt so we can better refine these things and ensure that we're getting kind of a more seamless experience for you guys. Training data, Rock is not necessarily trained, it's just the model. It was recently upgraded, or at least updated, I should say. But yeah, generally through major releases, you might see an update to that, not always. What is this? Camera movements aren't good for human faces or animals, I guess. Maybe. It depends on what your prompt is and what you've styled, right? Not everything is going to be perfect. So you can practice your iterative prompting and go from there until you get a result that you're happy with. I've also seen a lot of mention to prompt layering. I've only ever heard this term once or twice for different AI areas. My understanding of it, at least in relation to the context of Stable Diffusion and Kaiber, is just your prompt hierarchy, and it's the order that you put your prompts in. I don't know if we touched on this, but effectively, the order of your prompts do play a small role into what has more emphasis. So the first thing that it sees is going to be slightly more emphasized than the second thing, then the third thing, et cetera, and go from there. So that's my understanding of prompt layering, at least within this context. But again, I'm learning every day. So if you
I've tested that myself. I mean,
I've
had it where I've had a specific prompt and I've just changed the words around a certain order. This is when I was testing it, when I was reading up on the Stable Diffusion data that I had. And the video came out slightly different. It was actually quite interesting to see. So there is that option there as well. It's not necessarily weighting it. It just sort of changes the way the AI creates the montage of images.
Yeah. The camera will eventually move on from the used initial image and tries to replicate and redraw everything from scratch. That's not necessarily true. It's going to use the previous frames. So it's learning from the previous frame to help educate the next frame and continue on. So you're right in the sense that over a long enough video, what you have at the end is going to be quite a bit different from what you had in the beginning. But that's just because, again, it's going to borrow from your prompts, and then create your video outward. So yeah, that's expected. The longer the animation, the more deviation you're going to see from your original image.
Yeah, some of the guys that have made big projects, they've just done is they've made a short video, and the last frame of that video they've used as the initial image of the next video they've made. So then it goes off that image, and then at the end of that one, they've taken the end of that frame and they've used it as the introduction or the initial image of their next video, and then they keep going, and then they eventually edit it together. I think you have to do something like removing one of the frames anyway at the beginning to make it work. I've not done it myself properly yet. But that allows it to be a smooth video. I've seen some videos of people doing it, and it is very smooth once it's edited correctly. So there is that option there. Someone actually put a suggestion today that I really liked, and that was when someone's generating a video, that once you put the prompt in and it does the generation, when it's finished, not only does you get the download, it offers you the last frame as a downloadable frame as well. That I think is a really good idea, because if you are making longer videos, you can then continue doing it without having to use any third-party software. That was a great suggestion to come in. So if you do go into the suggestions channel, have a look at what's in there and give things some thumbs up as well, man. Or not some thumbs up, some green hearts to say, yeah, great idea.
Yeah. Am I back?
Oh, yeah, yes, there you are. There's that voice.
God damn it. Dude, I've been troubleshooting this mic for the past half hour.
We can do a course if you want on that. We can do a chat.
Yeah,
we'll do a stage.
We'll set that one up next week.
Had to reset Discord, man. It was a bad time.
Discord is a minefield sometimes when it comes to the
No, stuff. I was gonna say I mean it's an old talk now, but I was gonna talk about like the ethnicity thing. What helps too is to look for the artist. Like if you have an artist that specializes in ethnicities, right? Like Asian, Black, Hispanic, whatever it is. If you also use that in your style, that'll also help you what's the word, like influence what your output is. So that's what I was trying to get at, but we're late. I'm late on this. But yeah.
100%, yeah, definitely. Because they say the artists, and don't forget the artists and art styles, it's predominantly what a lot of the training data is trained on. So, to have that information, if you know exactly what the specific artist is that does a specific set of portraits, and a lot of the time you'll find an artist will sometimes stick with a specific ethnicity if he does portraits, because that is his style. If you understand the artist and the style, you can definitely, along with the weighting of the ethnicity, put more focus on what you're trying to achieve.
Exactly.
Hey, actually, did they update frames per second? It's been 12 for as long as I know, but honestly, since the update, I have not looked.
I'll have to ask that question. I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, I'm pretty confident it's still 12, but maybe they doubled it.
Someone's saying they're getting 23,
24? Yeah, 23, 24. So maybe they increased it. Okay, so it's been 12 for as long as I've been using Kaiber. Maybe they updated it. I'm just wrong. So I'll look into that and we'll find out for sure. Someone's asking a bit about obviously storyboards, what it sounds like. So is it turtle shellin'? I like that. Yeah, storyboard is that. That's effectively that. It's just instead of choosing the keyframe that your next storyboard will take effect, you just change the time. So similar idea, but yes, you can control each scene and pick your prompt and whatever you want to do at that scene, and then make an entire video output from it. So I've got about 10 minutes left. I'd like to keep it open to Q&A because I think this is a great opportunity for us to interact with the community and ask some questions. But to answer his question, he says, what do you mean by multiple cameras? Simply that with Storyboard and the updates, you can select more than one camera effect now. You can zoom in and left, or you can combine up to 4 different cameras for a single storyboard or a single animation. So they've opened that up a bit more. I'm hoping over time we might see some additional camera. I'd love to see my love for the 3D cameras.
3D, yep.
Maybe one day we'll get it. Yeah. But right now it's not there. But yeah,
I'm just making a video at the moment that's got like 4 camera movements going on at the same time, like zoom in, rotate right, up and left, and things. And I'm creating some weird sort of obviously over 5 storyboards. I'm creating short videos of weird sort of wavy videos that are zooming in and out, and it's quite cool. And the one thing I'm using is I'm using music to sort of speed up the camera slightly at the moment, so I'm getting some really cool effects out of that as well.
Yeah, I don't know if
Go
a
ahead.
lot of people are aware that you could do more than one camera angle, right? Like more than one camera movement, like zoom
Yeah.
out and left or
Mhm.
zoom out and up. So I'm not sure if some of the people are aware of that as well.
Yeah,
No.
up to four cameras. It's pretty wild.
Well, up to
So
4
in
cameras, but
the-
also you couldn't do left and right. So it has to be up to 4
Yeah.
cameras, but within their subset.
Left and right is just static.
It just stands still.
It just stretches.
Left,
It
right,
just
up and
changes
down.
your aspect
There we go.
ratio, you know? Yeah, yikes. Let's see, what is this? They should train a huge data set model for that. No, the 3D cameras just aren't enabled. So,
Yeah, it's all there.
how do you
all the training data is
practically
there.
do-
We just it's just not been enabled.
Yeah. So, Opal, how do you practically do that with the cameras? Well, when you're creating your animation, and I don't know if you're asking me or someone else in chat, but when you're creating your animation and you select your camera, just select all that you like.
Yeah, JC's
No
brought
worries, no worries.
JC's brought up a good point next. Obviously, Jimmy knows I use a lot of browsers, so I don't just use the one
Yes.
browser. I use Chrome, I use Opera GX, I use Edge, I use Firefox. I use them all mainly because I like to test things out. And one of the things that I do find is JC's right that some of the browsers I use are better responsive than the others. So even though if you're using Chrome, I use Opera GX. Some people have been getting issues on the Chrome. I never had when I used GX. I never had those issues at all. In fact, I don't think up until recently I had any issues using the Opera GX browser. I just say if you're finding you've got an issue, best thing to do is to check that the browser you're using is either refreshed, cache cleared, so that you know that it's all ready to go, because it might be something to do with that. If that's not working, try other browsers.
When I do the simple steps, right? Log out, clear cache, close browser, open, start again.
Go for a walk.
And the one thing
Clear your head.
we have to remember is, like, the Kaiber team, the dev team, is constantly, updating. They're working hard to scale, to give us new stuff to play with, to fix bugs and give updates. So sometimes they'll push an update and we'll just have to clear the cache to ensure we've got a smooth user experience. So for right now, especially as Kaiber continues to grow, if you run into a browser problem, try that first. Always the first step. If that doesn't work, fire us a quick message, in Discord. Someone will be around to help you out.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, we've got a
All
channel
right.
in server as well called Need Help. So it's literally there. If you need help, go to Need Help. Just ask the question. We could either help you with the answer, or we can direct you to the right place to find not to find the answer, sorry, to get the help you need. If it's like a billing request or anything like that, we can direct you to support and tell you how to contact them. We can even help by speaking with support as well, getting them to check your ticket as well. But if it's any technical information, just jump into to Need Help, ask us the question, and 9 times out of 10 we can help you. But just be respectful. When you come, I know people get very very upset when things don't work for them. But just remember that we're all that Kaiber's a small team, and they're working their asses off to develop a platform that you guys can use. So if you do get upset with something, just remember that we're all trying. I'm trying to create just like you are. So just be cool. Ask us a question.
We're all trying our best.
Yeah, well, we can all help you out. If you're polite and you can't, we will respond and we will help you guys. But we if you get sort of too abusive and too aggressive towards us, then I'd rethink that attitude.
Phil gets Exo gets sassy, so you be careful.
and then if he's
When I don't-
hungry, it's even worse.
I don't eat my Mars bars.
Even worse. That's right.
But yeah,
okay.
It's
All right. So I've gonna hop off in a minute here. So any last questions that I might be able to answer?
Does pineapple belong on pizza? Number.
Well, yeah, absolutely it does.
Hey, let's not start a war now. Come on.
Yeah, like, if you disagree, it's okay to be wrong.
I'm gonna have to create another channel now.
Okay,
Pineapple support groups.
Okay, I'm glad we all agree.
Yeah, all right.
I like to add jalapeno too, but that's just
Yeah, sure, man. Throw it in there.
What
Let's
was
do
my mate
it.
calls it? Jalapeno.
Jalapeno.
Yeah,
Dude,
jalapeno.
my daughter was asking for jalapeno Pringles the other time, and I was like, "Girl, you're half Mexican. How dare you?"
I had a friend of mine. He said to me once, "We fancy going out for a drink." I said, "Yeah, it'd be great." He said, "I'll meet you down the Derby Tavern." What the hell's Derby Tavern? And then I looked at him and I said, "Do you mean tavern?" He's going, "Oh."
The tavern, man, the tavern.
Yeah, for years he thought it was that. I was like,
So this is wonderful. So I'd like to like we're going to try as a community to do this more often. We have identified that obviously like Kaiber needs to be approachable, right? So we want people to be able to join our community, to ask questions, and be able to get the wow out of their first animation or the first generation. What we don't want users to be doing is typing in a prompt or not really sure where to start and going, oh, like this is crap. Like I don't like this. So don't hesitate to come in and, like I said, just ask, talk to anyone in the community. There's lots of people that are willing to help, and and make sure you guys are happy with what you're seeing.
Yeah, Mods, I appreciate it, dude. Yeah, we are going to do a lot more of these. We're going to do a lot more different subjects as well. Even just to chill out and chat with people that want to ask questions and stuff. We might have an open session where it's literally like, you want to ask us questions about anything, we'll answer those questions. This is recorded as well, so we will get this released as audio for anyone that missed it. We're going to do regular events. So if you do want to see more of these as well, just let us know. If you've got ideas for areas that you want us to focus on as well that you may not be sure of, great to suggest those to us as well. Just type them into the like one of the chats and at me or any of the guys, and we can add that to an itinerary of conversations or chats that we can do in the future. Be a really good chance to also go over, like, when they do arrive, new updates and new features that come in that we can also chat to you about. Right, so Opal, it's been released in Discord, and we're going to speak to the lovely guys at Kaiber as well about possibly getting this put somewhere else that you guys can find it. But I will release some information tomorrow on the Discord server where it's going to be available.
Yeah, and I'll leave in the chat. I have a guide written for prompting. Just kind of a quick overview. It does talk a bit about waiting. It will cover a lot of what we spoke about here today. And like I mentioned earlier, it was written for Kaiber while it was in beta. The model has been updated, so some of the examples that I use here you won't see the exact same results, but the concept or the core ideas are still the same.
Yeah, and if anybody in the community as well, like JC for instance, or Jiva and the guys, if you do want to get involved in the chats and be part of the chats itself and be vocal with us, by all means, let us know, and we can plan it in so that you guys are able to jump on and give your experiences as well. Because it's not just about us. At the end of the day, we're users that we manage the community and we help people, but at the same time, we generated from the same places you come from. So your experience, you may have some information that we might learn from you as well. So by all means, get involved.
All right. Well, thanks everyone for coming. We'll try to have another one of these again soon. And like I said, yeah, just feel free to ask where we can help.
Yeah, I mean, also, yeah, definitely appreciate everyone turning up today. It's really appreciated. Hopefully we'll speak to you a lot more in the server. Don't hesitate to sort of say hello to us and ask us questions, and buy me an apple if you want. I don't mind.
All right. Take care, everyone.
Take care, buddy.
All right.
See you later, guys.